Feel free to take notes or don't. Maybe don't take notes. You don't want these notes. Period 4 and 5. I posted these. I need you paying attention like a hawk. Eyes like a hawk. I will call out anyone who is not giving me their total attention because I am a love hound. I want the attention. Mac, are you paying attention? All right. Look at Jefferson. So regular. He's such a regular guy. Peaceful revolution. That lasts every year until when? Trump. Until 2020.
Yeah.
Till 2020, this lasts.
Wait, no, 2016 is when he was elected.
No, when he lost. When he lost. 2020. So the idea of it, Matthew, and maybe you know this, is it's the person saying you won. Here's the keys to the car, and Trump was no, you lost. I deny it.
Recount.
And then what was it? January 6th, go trash the Capitol. So that lasts 220 years. Thanks, Trump. Louisiana Purchase, right? That isn't quite Democratic Republican because he did that with presidential authority. He's like, oh, buy it, just buy it. They wanted New Orleans, they got it all. And then under him, the second Great Awakening. Second, much more important than the first. Federalists out, Republicans are in, Thomas Jefferson. Shrink, abolish taxes, reduce the amount of judges. Bank of United States, okay, that we'll keep that. I want to say hypocrite. Come on, dude. You were so against it. We had to move the capital to D.C. And the tariffs. He's like, oh, we'll keep them. It seems to be working. All right. Everyone got those? Great. Supreme Court, judicial review. We will go over the court cases. I have a whole list of court cases. If you want them ahead, I could give them. You want them ahead of time?
I'm really bad at them.
Okay, because we'll look at them as class, but I think you're right. Remind me, before the end of class, I'll give everybody all of my personal list of what I think are the most important court cases. Judicial review, of course, being the most important because it gives the court, other than like interpreting whether you broke the law or not, it gives the court the Supreme Court, its main function, which is to see the constitutionality of a law or not. And if it's not constitutional, they strike it down. I don't know if you need to know the details of judicial review of Marbury versus Madison, but you need to know that it sets up judicial review under the Marshall Court. Judicial review, I think nobody has a problem with that. Anyone trouble with judicial review? Maybe I shouldn't even ask these, a little bit. Okay. First Great Awakening, we know, unites the colonies. I only did that as reminders. That's before the Revolution. Now we're after the Revolution, and it lasts for a while. I mean, 1800 to 1840, right? I mean, it lasts for a long time, and it will get bigger and bigger and bigger. More people in, women involved, African Americans involved, and it eventually leads to abolition. I mean, that's where we point to it. Religious reforms, big and outdoors, religious societies. Let's get a little more sober. Let's help mentally ill. Social reforms, less hierarchy, less leadership, but women in charge of social reforms. This is not part of the Great Awakening, but it happens at that same time period. It is a social reform. The Common School Movement, Whig Party leader Horace Mann, and Massachusetts does this, and they still have the best public schools in the country. McGruffy Reader, a standard textbook. Whigs support it. Jacksonian Democrats do not. Catholics feel it's a little too Protestant, and they start creating more parochial schools. This will jump, parochial schools, Catholic schools will jump in big numbers once we get around 1890 and that second wave of immigration comes in. Right now, primarily Catholic would be people in Maryland and Catholic Irish people who came over during the potato famine. Louisiana Purchase, We just sort of went over that. It's not very Democratic Republican, but for 15 million bucks, why not take it? Doubles the land of the U.S. It removes France again. Now, don't worry about France. They just got it at the last second back from Spain. I don't know. It doesn't matter. War of 1812. It's like, what war? I mean, honestly, I totally get it. I literally, in regular U.S., we don't even whisper it. It's as if it didn't happen. The second war against Britain, growth of nationalism, strengthening isolationism, the natives keep losing out. Growth of American industry, because we were relying on a lot of British industry, and it was successful enough that the Democratic Republicans, the war hawks, Henry Clay, who wanted it, were looked at so right, and the Whigs were looked at like, wait, was it the Whigs? Sorry, the Federalists were looked at as so wrong for not wanting the war that the Federalist Party disappeared, and we have that wonderful era of good feeling. All right? And the U.S. says it has a place in the world. Now, we act a little big for our britches. We're like, all right, Europe, don't get involved in North or South America. Well, we say it. Now, we end up being able to do it much later. We say it then, Monroe Doctrine. And it lasts until today. There is no major, I will say there's been no major European interventions in North or South America. Now, if you want to make arguments, yes, the Falkland Islands, these little things, you could say China financially is really involved in South America today, but we're not talking about huge warships coming in. All right. Most people don't give a shit, but eventually it leads to our long-term foreign policy. Sort of like the Three-Fifths Compromise. It wasn't that big of a deal when it happened. It turned into being a big deal. That's what this is. Recognize the cartoon on the top. You could easily get a cartoon about it on the Apush. Cotton and technology. Who invents it? Nice. Great. Cotton gin. And listen, there's the other ones too. The spinning Jenny. She's crazy. She kept spinning. And it's a machine. And then the flying shuttle, right? And these both make cotton, making cotton into cloth easier. Both these items. So what are the effects? I mean, this is what we've been talking about all day. Land rush, that's what you mentioned. Moving to the Black Belt. Slavery booming. Harsher conditions. Slavery goes from 500,000 in 1800 to 4 million by 1860. It's a big jump. North becomes, North, it's not the only, I just want to make sure we don't get this wrong. North was already industrializing, but this is more industrializing. It's more industrialized. Processing cotton, New York City, a trade center, and cotton becomes the #1 export in America. And cotton does, which is interesting because we're not exporting all our cotton. The North is developing it, but who else is developing it into textiles? Britain. And that's big. Because when the Civil War starts, the South thinks, oh, Britain will be with us. They need our cotton. But where do they get their cotton from? India and Egypt. And today, major cotton producing places. Growing divide, great. And by the way, that's slavery. And where does slavery move? Yes, it grows, but where does it move from?
The mid-south to the deep south.
Sure, mid-south, or you could say the mid-Atlantic. From the middle states to the deep south. Yes, you want to be able to describe that difference. From tobacco land to cotton land. From tobacco and rice to cotton, sure. Lowell, ultimate example of mills. Rise of corporations. The mills are so big they can't even have one owner. They're just enormous. When you get older, you'll go to them and it's like 10 Burtons. It's like maybe even more. They're so big. Chow, you been?
No, I don't think so.
They're huge. They're enormous. That cause is sort of good. End of self-sufficient households, the market revolution. Okay. Growth of trade. The packet chips, like That's where ships leave at a certain time. Instead of waiting till they're full, they leave at a specific time like we do today when you book a flight. Henry Clay's American System. I think it's just small enough no one gives a shit because he wasn't a president, but it's just big enough the AP's like, ugh. I'll put one of these in like an SAT question and no one will get a perfect score, right? Everyone know this? You gotta know that. I think that's a major trick you. Jolene, you getting this shit? Government subsidies, roads like the National Road, the Erie Canal, recharter of the bank, high tariffs, not expansion, but development. Panic of 1819, oh, thank goodness we have a bank. Don't worry, Jackson will F that up. All right, some court cases. Dartmouth versus Woodward, contracts matter. Government can't just break up contracts. States can't just take over companies or schools. McCullough versus Maryland, federal power higher than state power. Maryland can't tax the Bank of the U.S. Bank of the U.S. gives taxes. I don't know. It feels like that. Gibbons versus Ogden, when two states get in an argument, the federal government makes the decision. Generally speaking, the Marshall Court increases federal power. Generally speaking. Air of good feeling. Yeah, oh, fuzzy. It feels fuzzy. Air of good feeling. Oh my God, I am not getting through everything I need to get through. Compromise of 1820. All right, great. We figured it out. Nothing over that red line right there. Oh, wait. That's not going to work because we're going to have the Mexican-American War, and we'll get all this territory. We'll be screwed. All right.
Have a state that is both above and below.
That's right. Angela processes things by saying it out loud, and I appreciate that. All right, great. We saw this already. I'm the boss, the split. And then they come back together for a little bit. Then it splits back up. John Quincy Adams, the Whigs, Henry Clay, Jackson. I mean, AP loves this cartoon. They love that cartoon. Standing on the Constitution, standing on the bank, holding the veto, more vetoes than all the presidents before him, ignoring the Supreme Court. We got a king. Jackson, these are the big things you got to know. Why nullification? What is it a preview of? Civil War, great. He's a Westerner, right? That's different. Norris Supreme Court, 2 terms, great. All right. South Carolina's like, hey, we don't want your tariff, but really we don't want you to take our slaves. All right, you have to do the tariff. Oh shit, we might end up in a war for the slaves. Okay, got it. Well, that's a great question. So Amy said, why did it relate to slavery? Look, South Carolina wanted to know, the federal government says all states must adhere to this tariff. It's not on the states, right? It's on imports, the tariff, right? And South Carolina says, we don't want to charge that tariff because it will create higher costs for the common man, for the farmers. We don't want to charge that tariff to imports. So it's saying to the federal government, we want to ignore something you're telling us to do. Just like if you tell us later, not now, to get rid of our slaves, can we tell you we don't want to do it? So it's testing, am I allowed to just ignore the federal government? Does that make sense? What was the test before this? But if we don't, Kentucky, Virginia resolution against the Alien and Sedition Acts. This one's more important. That's a great question. You sure you feel good?
So they're just testing the boundaries?
Yeah, they're testing about being luck. Watch. Let's role play. Adiel, ready? All of my states, all 20 states, have to pay this tariff on imports. Adiel, go.
No, I'm out of here.
And he's South Carolina. No, I'm not going to pay the tariff.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to pay the tariff. All right. But Adiel's really thinking, and is seeing if I say okay to that, and I'm going to say, fuck you, I'm going to bring the army, and you got to do it, Jackson. But what Adiel's really wondering is, instead of me saying the tariff, me saying all states have to get rid of their slaves, it's a test case. What happens next? Come back, Adiel.
Back in?
You weren't that helpful. All right.
What? I got my legs in.
Expansion. There you go. There it is. Everyone good? Got it? No, I don't think so. I mean, well, wait a second. You gotta know polk. Shit, I need to give you a list of, oh wait, I have that. The proper noun thing has which presidents you need to know. You gotta know polk, because he does the Mexican-American War. I think that's important. Okay. Manifest destiny. How do we get Texas? Not from Mexico. Don't say that shit. Annex, negotiation, and a war. All different ways of manifest destiny. Everyone look at Juan and feel tired. Okay, there we go. Okay, keep going. First wave and second wave of immigration.
First wave, maybe north and west.
Yes, that's right. North and west, Irish, German, English. Also, you get Chinese and Mexican in here too. That's sort of a big slide. Yeah, is this helping? Because I want to do some other shit. I want to go back to the women and African Americans.
You want to.
I'll go. All right, I'll blast for. Let's go, women. Let's pause here. So we're gonna pause at Seneca Falls, and I'll come back to this on Friday. Let's pull out the women and African Americans chart. Let's do it.